we're going to start preparing our ice water bath. So we need a 600 ml beaker, a 400 ml beaker, some water, and some ice. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take some paper towel and we're going to line the inside of the 600 ml beaker in between just to make it a little extra snug and give it some more insulation. So what we have to do now is we need to have approximately 300 mils of an ice water slurry. So we want to add some water, we want to add some ice, we want some ice water mixed together, and we wanted about 300 mils. So we're just making a nice mixture here. Ice and water, and we are going to pour that in to our 2 containers. And we'll add just a little more ice to it. And we should be good to go now. So there's our ice and our water slurry mixed in. We are going to mass out the amount of cyclohexane we're using. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to put a 250 ml beaker on the scale. And then we're going to tare it to bring it down to 0 so we can get the mass of our 200 millimeter test tube. So our test tube is going in by itself, and the weight of the test tube is 16.231, again 16.231 grams. The next step that we're going to do, we're going to bring this over so you can see it a little better, 16.231 grams, is we are going to add about 12 milliliters of cyclohexane and mass it out there. So here we go. We're going to add it into the test tube. So there's our approximately 12 milliliters. And we're going to take its new mass. So the new mass here is 25.080 grams. Again, 25.080 grams. And that's filled with about 12 milliliters of cyclohexane. Okay, so we are ready to start our trial. What we're going to do is right now we have our cyclohexane and we have our temperature probe in the cyclohexane. Its starting temperature is 29.2 degrees. And what we're going to do now is we are going to put it in the ice bath. So we're going to hit collect. We're going right into our ice bath, and we are going to see at what point in time do we freeze. And we're waiting for our cyclohexane to get solid. I'm actually going to go grab some more ice. Oh, and we are just starting to freeze, which is good. When we stay constant, we've hit our freezing point, and then we'll drop down colder once we've gone past the freezing point. And if you look here, for the most part, we are frozen. So it looks like we hit our freezing point at around 6.3. Because we're pretty solid. And we're continuing to go down now afterwards. So now that we're continuing to go down, we've passed our freezing point and we are frozen. So we're going to let this warm up. See all those crystals? And it's hard to pull the thermometer out. We hit our freezing point where we started to actually freeze. So we're going to let this thaw, and then we're going to add some naphthalene in. So that will be our unknown that we're going to use. And we're going to add about 0.3 grams each trial and see what it does with the freezing point. We're looking to mass out 0.2 grams of our unknown, but I'm going to tell you our unknown solid is naphthalene. So we're going to put a piece of white paper down. We're going to tear it. Try that again. There we go. So we don't need a lot, we just need a little. So our first amount that we're adding in is 0.253 grams. So we're going to add in 0.253 grams. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do another trial. And in this case, we're going to see what happens with that freezing point, but we're adding that 0.253 grams of naphthalene. So we're going to hit collect. We're going to ask to store the latest run, so this way we can watch it and see it. Currently, we're at 19.6 degrees, 0.7 degrees. It's not frozen. We're right here. So we're going to take our thermometer out for a second. We are going to add in our naphthalene. We're going to mix it till it dissolves. So in the naphthalene goes. And we want to try to get it to mix in. And then we're going to see what happens. So we're just going to mix back in. We may actually use this for a little bit. I know not the best use of the probe, but we'll keep mixing. So once we are mostly dissolved, what we're going to do is we're going to see how we affect that freezing point again. Okay, we look like we are good to go. Okay, we are for the most part dissolved in. So, we already started collecting for temperature. Please do not worry about that, what you're seeing in the beginning. We're going to put in our ice bath now, and here's realistically where we're going to start paying attention, looking for that freezing point. So right now we haven't hit the plateau yet, but it looks like we're almost close and we're starting to. So we'll take a look. Nope, not there yet. Okay, we hit it. So we hit our freezing point at around 2 degrees. So we've just started to freeze, and you can see the crystals. And the crystals form all those. So our freezing point is at 2 degrees. Please disregard the going up in temperature. That was my hand. So our point was 2 degrees. We need to measure out another approximately 0.1 or 0.2 grams of our naphthalene. So we're going to go with this number here. So we're adding in. Now we're adding in an additional, so this is our second add-in, okay? We are adding in an additional 0.174 grams. So we had our first, and now we're adding in to that 0.174. So we're going to add that right to the test tube here, and we'll mix it in. I'm going to get all of it in there. And then we'll mix with our handy dandy glass stirring rod. Once we seem to be mixed in, we're going to do our whole freezing point again. And what I'm doing, I'm just trying to hold this to warm it back up while we mix. So as we're mixing, I'm going to switch over here and move you to this side, back to see the screen again. The thing I'm going to do briefly is I'm going to move some water out of here. I'm going to put in some more ice. So we just added an additional ice. We're almost dissolved. Okay, we are dissolved in. So what we're going to do now that we're dissolved, we're going to go back to collecting and seeing what's going on with our data. So I'm going to put the temperature probe back in. I'm going to reconnect you guys back on Zoom. So now we're recording again back on Zoom. We are going to collect another set of data, and I believe, hopefully, if I go here, I'm just going to hit Store Latest Run to make sure we store that. So now we're going to hit our collection. We're going to go back into our ice bath, and we're going to see where our new freezing point is. And we'll see if it is lower than 2. And in this case, we're in the green for this trial. So here, look, we're past 2 and we're still completely liquid. No form of freezing yet. And it looks like we're holding steady at 1.2, so we're going to go up and look. Looks like we started a little bit of crystals forming. But not yet. Not frozen yet. Still going. Okay, we are holding steady at 0.9 degrees. So that is our new freezing point, 0.9, just when we started to form some stuff. And now we're going to continue to dip down further. Okay, so now that we're at 0.9 for our freezing, we're going to take this out. We are going to pause our Zoom recording for a second. And we're going to get ready for trial 3. So in order to do trial 3, we got to come back over here to the scale, and we're going to mass out another 0.1 grams. So now collectively, we have over 0.4 grams inside of our test tube, or we will. So that's 0.25. It's a little too much. We're going to take a little off. 0.17. Let's go a little less. Just 0.1. Okay. So for this last one, this will be trial 3. And remember, you have to add all the masses together. Trial 3 here is going to be 0.115 grams in addition to the last 2 things we added. So again, it's 0.115. So what we're going to do now is we are going to take our test tube out. We're going to add that in. We are going to mix. And then as soon as we're mixed, we're going back in the ice bath for our last trial. So we're back for our last trial. We're going to go back over here to Zoom. And we're going to resume our recording. So this will be our last trial, or trial 3. So we had cyclohexane by itself in the red. Then we had cyclohexane with about 0.2 grams in the blue, and it froze at like 2 degrees. So it definitely dropped, and you saw the freezing point depression. Then we added about 0.17, I want to say, a little more, or about maybe it was 0.2 again. Whatever we added for trial 2, depressed it even further down, and now we're going to try the last one. So remember, you have to keep adding everything together. So we mixed it so it's all combined, so it dissolved in, and what we're going to do is we're going to add our thermometer back in. We're going to hopefully store our last run. So we're going to go to experiment, store latest run, so that way we don't lose that data. And now we're going to hit collect and start. Oops. Okay, and we're going to add this to the ice bath And the ice bath, I think, wasn't getting cold enough, so what we did was we added some salt in there to bring the temperature of this hopefully down a little further. So as you're looking and watching, let me get this out of the way, we're getting down to 9 degrees, 8 degrees, and hopefully we'll hit our freezing shortly. We'll add just a little more ice. Oh, good. Okay. So if I pull this up, we still have, oh, looks like we're just started to freeze down there. I'll put it back in. But I think -2 is going to be our number from when we started to freeze. So the bottom here is frozen. So we froze, and bring it back up. Right where everything, here we are, frozen at the bottom. Okay, so we froze at about -2. And just to make sure, we'll bring it back up, and again, frozen again. So we're good, and we're going to stop as we're seeing the temperature still continue to decrease. Again, we had plateaued a little bit around that -2, and we're just going down further and further, but we had already froze at the bottom.